What's the name of our show?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to Large Glass.
Yep. We're good with the mic?
I think we're good with the mic.
Okay.
But you never know.
We never know.
It's good to see you all again.
Yeah. So just a heads up, we might have some technical difficulties. If for some reason you can't hear us, just let us know in the chat and we'll get right on it.
Hi, Ben. Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, Ben.
So, we got a lot to talk about.
We have so much to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do. So first of all, if you're new to Twitch, welcome. Welcome to our show, The Large Glass. We're excited to have you.
Yep, we're going to encourage you to participate in the chat because we actually like the dialogue that happens and it actually stimulates the whole conversation, which is what we're trying to do with the show. So we love participation.
Exactly. We're not trying to talk at you. We're trying to actually engage with you. That's the whole point of this thing. So, look, we've got some people. Oh, look, Christina's here.
Audrey.
Pumpkin Audrey's here. Dave's here. Hi, everybody.
Guys.
Good to see you. So
it's our fourth episode. So that's exciting. We got some exciting things tonight.
Yes, we do. First of all, we'd love to thank Amanda Toolin. Thank you very much for your donation last week. We really appreciate that. You are an awesome supporter. So we love that. And, we wanted to talk a little bit about how support on this works because it's really confusing. And even gearing up to do all this streaming, I've been doing so much research on what it means to run this.
A lot of research. I'm actually surprised at how much is involved, but you're doing a great job.
It's complicated. Well, Twitch is a complicated thing. So first of all, as streamers, and we are streaming through Twitch because you're sitting here, there are a number of levels through which we get access to Twitch. And right now we're just plebes. We don't even make the mark. But we're hoping to get to what's called affiliate status, which means we have to get to, there's 4 levels of criteria, 3 of which we have met already. We are there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 4th one is we need to get to 50 followers. So now you can see right below me here that there is a ticker. We're at 37 out of 50 followers. We need 13 more people.
Yep, we're so close.
Right. And when we get to affiliate status, this is what this means, right? Number 1, we can actually start to receive financial support from our viewers, which helps to run a show like this because it takes an enormous amount of time. And there are a number of ways in which fans or watchers of the show can actually do that stuff. So number 1, and I was going to tell this story in a little while anyway, but I'll tell it now. There are these things called Twitch bits, which you can buy. They're like these little gems, and you can cheer them at your favorite viewers, and it's essentially the equivalent of money. 1 Twitch bit is a penny. So you can cheer 100 Twitch bits to your favorite streamer, and that's $1. It's sort of like throwing a tip, right? And so the other day, my mom called me, and she's like, I'm so excited. I bought thousands of Twitch bits because they were on sale. How do I give those to you? I was like, you can't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We need to get to that status. So by you telling your friends to come here and follow, we get closer to that goal. On top of that, if we're affiliates, there are things called loyalty points, which you get just for watching. They're like currency that you can spend in the channel, in the chat. And it's fun. So, but we need to be affiliates. So we're not there yet.
But we're almost there and you guys can help. So
yes.
Tonight we're going to incentivize this a little bit.
We are. The reason we have our ticker up right here is because we are going to have 2 giveaways. Yeah.
The first one is if we hit 40 followers, which we're almost there. We just need 3 more people to follow us. Once we hit 40, we're going to have a drawing.
That's correct. We're going to have a giveaway. If you're active in the chat, you could potentially win. If you're active in the chat and we hit 40 followers tonight, we're going to be sending you a copy of Jerry Saltz's How to Be an Artist, which is the book that we've been reading from on a regular basis. And
if we hit 50, we're going to give away a drawing tonight. So
yes. So I've been doing some drawings live online. I've also been doing some other drawings not live online, but I've been doing a series of taxonomy drawings. And so this one right here, which I'm going to try and get in front of the camera if I can, It's really hard to get on there. I'm telling you what, it's on my Instagram since it doesn't want to focus on it.
If your face was...
If my face came out of it, how's that? Does that get better? Does that get a little bit better?
Indeed.
This is an India ink drawing on Yupo. It's one of my taxonomy drawings. I will send this to you if you can get us to 50 followers. You're active in the chat, and you're the lucky winner. Mm-hmm. So we can do that. So let's get some followers tonight.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's do that.
All right. Should we drink?
We should drink,
yes,
because that's what the show's partly about. So.
My Nightbot just got Christina for putting symbols in. You should be. Why can't you put symbols in?
I know, that's crazy. That's how we communicate.
I'm firing the Nightbot. That is ridiculous. Okay, woohoo. Okay, good. That's good. I appreciate the woohoo. But you should be able to put your symbols in there. I got to adjust that. All right, so what are we having?
We're having an Italian.
We're having an Italian wine. Not because the artist is Italian.
No, but because of some of her artwork.
Yes, she did something really interesting in Venice. And so we're kind of celebrating Italy here. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that stuff in a little bit. They were cartwheels. I'm drinking vino along with you. Excellent. Yay. And Christina, thank you for that, because I want to know what everyone else is drinking too. So we have a Corte Fiore. This is an Appassimento. It's kind of nice. Should we do a little ASMR? I'm going to pour. All right, so if you have headphones on, I want you to turn them way up. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah. Ben's drinking water. Thank you, Ben.
That's good.
That has to be somewhat satisfying. Dandelion tea with collagen from Amanda. Amanda, I don't know if you were on when we thanked you for your donation last week.
Yeah,
just in case you didn't hear, thank you again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's to Italy. Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, that sounded really pretty.
Yeah, right in front of it, in front of the mic. That's good. By the way, we're coming at you. We haven't told you this. We're coming at you from Teeny's Bar. And we're going to let that remain a little bit of a mystery. And some of you are probably like, no, you're not. Or some of you are probably like, where are your masks?
Yeah. Don't worry, we're being safe.
Yes, and think of it as an art piece that will actually gain a lot of momentum over the next few months. We have a plan. It's an exciting plan. We cannot wait to share this art piece with you. Christina says, I'm losing you guys a bit. I think it's my Wi-Fi. I hope it's not us. But hang in there. Yeah, I know. Ron's message got deleted too. And Audrey's drinking Pinot Grigio.
Yay.
Excellent.
Very good.
Ron, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to deal with this bot when we are done. Okay? This bot is going down. All right? We're going to have an actively emoted chat. All right? All right. Anyway,
all right.
So.
He's drinking iced coffee.
Iced coffee. Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. So,
gosh, where to start?
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about.
Well, one thing we wanted to talk about.
Oh, your mom's drinking iced tea with lemon. Vodka and orange juice.
Of course.
Sweet.
Yes, Dave with the vodka and orange juice. Good. Yeah. Good. Everybody's putting in their drinks.
Well, I like to drink and unwind for the week. Did you have a good week this week?
Yeah. I had a pretty good week.
Yeah.
Yeah. The treehouse is almost completely in the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to everybody who helped me. I appreciate that. We're not going to talk about that. We had some, one thing I have to put out there that I really appreciated is I got a text from somebody who watched our show last week. Rita, if you're here, wave and say hello. Mike Rader's drinking my pain. Excellent. A friend of mine, Rita, said that she really appreciated how there's now this forum where we can just kind of sit back and talk about art. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of why we did it. But then I started thinking about it, and we've been trying to get away from this we're talking at them academic approach and make it about this exchange right here.
Yeah, because this is something we do all the time. And it's like one of the things I look forward to all week. And whenever we're talking about art, it's just so exciting and it's so accessible for everybody.
Right. And I'd like to think of this more about how this artist that we present every week could just be somebody that we sort of introduce as a talking point to get this exchange going, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Drinking coffee with RumChata, Brooklyn Bel Air Sour Ale.
Drinking. Ooh.
Amanda's here. We have 2 Amandas in the chat now. Nice.
Amanda squared.
Well, Amanda prefers Am. So Am and Amanda, not the same thing. Apologies about that. This feels like AOL in middle school, but in a good way and way more interesting. Yes. You've got mail. All right. So shout out to the show. Yes. Oh, Dear Diary. Yeah. Okay. We'll carry on. Thanks, Am. Good to see you. Thank you for coming, by the way. Oh, and please follow if you can, because we're really trying to get those followers.
We're so close.
We'd
we're
love
just
to have you on there.
3 away from a giveaway.
Yes.
So
anyway, we're just happy to be doing a more participatory kind of thing where we're sort of bringing this artist as an introduction, and then we're sort of, really letting that spark a conversation that we all have together, right? That's really what we enjoy.
Yeah.
And I like the way it's going to keep us off that more academic kind of track.
Well, I think so. I think because even who we picked tonight is someone who's very much about accessibility. This is somebody who didn't want it just in the galleries and just to an exclusive group of people. And that's really important, especially at a time like this when the world is hurting and we need something to look forward to and something to talk about and something that kind of steers away from some of the more grim topics and something that inspires everybody. And not a lot of people see this. So this is kind of exciting in a way.
Yeah. And, one of the things we do is we talk about getting over your fear about talking about art, getting over your fear about making art. And the other thing I want to get into eventually, not tonight, but we're going to start having a show maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months that focuses on getting over your fear of, or lack of knowledge around collecting art. I mean, that's something that we really want to sort of introduce you guys to. We collect art, and we collect the art of mostly our friends so that we can support them. There's a really interesting thing called the Artist's Pledge. What's it called?
I think it's Pound Artist's Pledge. We'll put the link in.
I'll put it in the YouTube thing tomorrow.
YouTube.
And what it basically says is that if you offer up work for sale as an artist, every time none of the works can be over $200, but every time you hit $1,000 in sales, you pledge to buy a $200 art piece from another artist.
Yeah, and it has a lot of prominent artists in it too. Like there's several that I'd like to mention, but I'm like, do I mention them?
We'll mention them in that show.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
And Am, thanks for following. We really appreciate that. Thanks. We got another one.
Yay!
12 to go. We're 2 away from tonight's giveaway and 12 away from the big giveaway, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So when we start that collector show, one of the things that we're going to really get into is this idea of where to look for art. Right? Where to kind of go shopping for art. Because, we encourage people to buy what they love, but what you love is probably heavily influenced by what your exposure is. And so the more exposure you have, the more opportunities you're going to have to sort of broaden your field, right? So Artist Support Pledge. Thank you, Christina.
Yes.
I couldn't remember that yet. I use the hashtag a lot, so you'd think I could. It's okay. So what else we got? We got a few other things, right? Is that it? We're going to talk about our getting over your fear of art.
We're going to talk about getting over your fear of art.
I didn't bring my glasses downstairs. I keep a backup pair here at the bar.
Perfect.
Right, I've got some cheaters.
That's right.
These are like 3.75, so I can see the type. So as you know, every week I read to you a chapter from this. We'll eventually run out of this eventually, but there's some good stuff in here, and I really like this. So I'm going to read again. In my Instagram post tonight, when I mentioned that we'd be giving away this book, I put it at Jerry Saltz. And
I got a little nervous.
Yeah, she's like, no, take that out of there. Take that out of there. So I got a chapter for you. Got a chapter for you in this tonight. All right, here we go. Chapter 12. It's almost like I'm reading from the freaking Bible.
It is. It's like a sermon.
All right, that's not what this is.
No,
I even got a
it's not what
white.
this
Wait,
is.
I got a white collar.
No.
I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. Good. Here we go. Chapter 12. Start now. So many people waste so much time worrying that it's too late to start. They give their energies to excuses for why they can't get to work. Bollocks. Many great artists, writers, actors, and others started late. Henry Rousseau didn't begin painting until he was in his 40s. Julia Margaret Cameron didn't become a photographer until she was 48. One of America's greatest so-called outsider artists, Bill Traylor, a former slave, didn't start making art until he was 85 years old. You can start any time. I know this firsthand because I wasted decades not writing. I had a million stupid reasons. Being afraid, feeling untrained, convinced I was unworthy, that I had nothing to say, that I was a fake, that I lacked the time or money or connections I'd need to make it in the art world. I'm not sure what got me to stop not writing. Maybe it was when my wife, the art critic Roberta Smith, read my early work and told me, if you don't get better, I'm going to kill myself. The person closest to you shouldn't have to sugarcoat critique. Maybe I knew that nothing could be worse than what I was feeling. So, at 40, I finally got serious, living proof that it's never too late. So, a couple of things in here really resonate with me that I feel strongly about and I think reflect on what we talked about tonight. Christina, totally, this is church. Mm-hmm. Ron, sucks getting old. Yeah, right? Right? And Ron, I don't know if you've noticed, but my regular glasses actually have the lanyard. So I wear them around my neck like my grandmother did. Anyway, a couple of things in here sort of resonate with what we were just talking about. My mom says Grandma Moses was almost 90
This is true.
when she started making work. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So first of all, when Jerry mentions Bill Traylor, he says America's greatest so-called outsider artists. I like that he puts so-called in there because I'm bothered by the term outsider artist a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's almost negating what they do by saying they don't have the discipline.
They don't have the education.
They don't have the education. And that's part of the inaccessibility that I don't like when they're saying that you're not qualified to do artwork because of education. And don't get me wrong, education is extremely important. I'm very pro education, but it almost sounds exclusive.
Yeah. Well, just the term outsider artist assumes there's an insider artist, and an insider is somebody that has a connection or a membership, and that implies an exclusivity, which I feel is just wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
And don't get me wrong, as an art educator, and as a jaded art educator, I'm sure you can resonate with this, because and I'll tell you more about that when we're not on this show, what I mean by that. Anyway, just to let you know, I'm out too. But so, as an educator who's jaded, I am speaking from two different sides of the fence here. I've been in a situation. I love teaching my students. I love that. I feel I bring something to them. I feel they walk away with something. And do I see them come in needing something that makes them better artists? Absolutely. But does that mean that somebody who is not going through that system can't do that job? I mean, this Bill Traylor drawing that's in here, right, has a certain, he puts that in the book, it has a certain naivete to it, right? It's a very simplistic drawing on some levels. But when you look at the mark making and when you look at the choices that he made in this, they're gorgeous. This is such a sweet drawing. I love this. That man was 85 years old.
Well, even when you think of other disciplines of art like acting, you think of Jessica Tandy. How old was she when she actually was well known and successful? I mean, she acted her whole life, but we don't remember her until we think of the older Jessica Tandy. So it's never too late. Grandma Moses, all of those.
Traylor is one of my favorites, Mike says. Yeah, this guy is amazing. Like probably the most well-known, the most talked about outsider artist would be Henry Darger. And that might be worth doing a show on one night because he's, basically in a nutshell, the story of Henry Darger is he was a recluse and he wrote what I like to refer to as a graphic novel. I mean, it was basically a series of drawings that told the story of this epic army of little girls. And somebody can correct me on this. Somebody can fact check me on this. But I believe it was in the vicinity of, I'm going to put a wide range on this so I get it right. It was in the vicinity of 25 to 44,000 pages long. Art Clown said, outsider art is amazing, so inspiring and underappreciated. Took a class on it last semester. It was very eye-opening. Love Henry Darger's work. Yeah, and fact check me on this, Sid. It was somewhere between 25 and 44,000 pages long, completely illustrated. And you know, the little nuances of his reclusivity in there. The girls were often depicted with male genitalia because he didn't even realize that the anatomy of a girl was different than the anatomy of a boy, because he had never really spent any time with anybody. But anyway, when he died, no one had ever seen this before. He made this completely in the seclusion of his apartment. And when he died, they were cleaning out his apartment a bit more than 15,000 pages. Thank you. All right, so I was still off. I put a wide range and I'm still off. Still an epic number of pages, right? And so they're cleaning out his room and they find this. Somebody that really was not a trained art person found this and thought, this seems important. This seems like a life's work. I think someone should see this. And with that, one of the most well-known pieces of art out there in the world was born. And he had no training, no socialization. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it really goes to show that, you know, it's not about how much institutionalization you sort of subscribe to.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Yep. And that's one of the things that I like too, because I don't really have much of an art background. I come to it with passion to learn about art, and I come from a family that was a bunch of makers. And I dabbled in the arts a little bit, but I kind of veered off onto a medical pathway. But this is my passion. I look forward to this all day long, and it's for everybody. I think anybody, we look at the Vogels that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. We're talking about a postman and a librarian, and they amassed a massive art collection. And they just came to it with an appreciation. They didn't come to it with all of this discipline and training in the high arts. They liked what they liked, and they actually helped to change the art world. And that's kind of but that's what's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And being around people that talk about it is really inspiring.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And Am says, yes, I'm with you on this. Absolutely. You know, this is kind of the thing that I've sort of bucked against my entire career as an educator. So, you know, I'm sort of at odds with myself, which, you know, is problematic. And all that naysaying you just did about yourself and your lack of artistic ability, you're going to make me take the statue down.
Oh.
You're going to make me do it.
Nope.
Just above the bar here.
Dabbler.
There's a shelf, and there's a few of Terry's statues, a few of her little sculptural figures up there. And she wants to give them away, and I will not let her. They're mine.
I feel like art is meant to be shared and to give away. That's why I'm not someone who likes to hold on to it. I love to just put it out in the world, send it up on its way.
Yes.
And I've done that before, and it's fantastic knowing that a piece of you went somewhere in the world.
It's almost like you're setting us up for the artist tonight.
I think I am.
God, that sounded rehearsed.
It wasn't. We actually don't really, although I will say we cheated a little bit this time, because we were talking a little bit about the accessibility of this artist.
We sit here for about 40 minutes before we start the show prepping for, you know, just what we're going to talk about. And we had the whole show already. You missed it. But the problem was the camera wasn't on and we weren't streaming. But we had this like really great talk that we're never going to be able to replicate now.
And that's okay.
So, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Who's the artist?
Well, do you want to introduce her? So this week, Todd picked the artist. So last week I picked Amy Silman. And
you picked Carla Knight.
And I picked Carla Knight. And then you picked Isaac Cordell.
Correct.
And this is the thing I love, is that like every week we're like, hey, how about this one? And this one we have like a real star. They're all real stars, but this one will knock your socks off.
Christina says that's exactly how I feel, Terry.
Aww. Yeah, I can imagine, because your paintings are gorgeous, and just knowing that they're out in the world and making people happy and brightening up their atmospheres and changing their atmospheres, which is something that we're going to talk about tonight, how artwork transforms different places. It can really make a big change.
Yes, and that was the one conflict I think we had with Isaac Cordell, is that he puts them in the world. He photographs them,
and then he whisks
and he
them
takes
off,
them back.
which I can appreciate too. Like they're gorgeous little statues. I
get that.
I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would if I did that kind of work, I'd probably do that. Maybe too. But
yeah.
So who are we doing?
Okay. I'm gonna actually let you introduce her, because you picked her out, and often I introduce her.
Damn, I missed Amy Silman. Better late than never.
That's
to tune
okay.
in.
You can catch it on a rerun on Twitch and on YouTube.
Yeah, we got it on YouTube, so you can see it. And I gotta say, Amy Silman was a tough one, because from an accessibility standpoint, her studio a block from mine, but I gotta find the rerun. Okay, yeah,
definitely do.
And
she was more challenging, because when we're talking about accessibility of art, she was a little bit more abstract. I feel like she might have been a little bit rougher to wrap your head around. Beautiful work, stunning, gorgeous.
But not just that, but the fact that it's really hard for those paintings to translate on a screen, right? I really feel like those paintings you really have to stand in front of for them to work.
The scale and the brush strokes, they were kind of lost in some of the two-dimensional images. So
right. So tonight we are going to do an artist named Caledonia Curry.
Does anybody know who she is?
Does anybody know who Caledonia Curry is? I know Am's going to put it in there. Am's going to be like,
I bet
duh.
Christina knows who it is.
And Christina probably knows who
And probably Mike, right?
Definitely Mike.
Something.
No, but opening a tab. You mean like that diet soda from the 70s? Oh my God. That was the worst dad joke on the planet. I'm sorry. Caledonia Curry.
Who also goes by Callie.
Oh, you're opening a bar tab. Excellent.
Who also goes
by the name of Swoon.
Swoon.
Yes, Swoon. So Swoon is a street artist mostly. She started out her career as a street artist. Internet, Father Todd. And I've got a rotating slideshow that we're going to start with right now. And
I'm surprised, actually, that you picked this one to start off with. Because when I think about
it's been rotating.
It's been rotating.
Yeah, we didn't start with that. That's just where we're at.
Okay.
So Swoon started her sort of artistic life as a street artist. And there's a lot of the images of her street art in here. It's just that we just happen to hit this little spot on the slideshow. So she does a very sort of wide-ranging body of work. So we're going to start talking about these pieces first, simply because, that's going to be, these are known as the swimming cities of Serenissima. She made these unbelievable punk junk rafts that
went everywhere. They were in Venice. They crossed the Adriatic Sea.
Yes, they were in the Hudson. They
went down the Hudson River.
And these groups of performers and artists and installation people are hanging out on these things, and they just kind of arrive in a city as these massive flotillas, and they're just incredible. So she did this. This was sort of later in her career.
This is much later. And they're sculptural, and to watch some of the images too, because sometimes they would produce interesting shadows on the wall, like when she was going under canals and stuff like that. That use of space and shadow was really, really interesting.
Yeah, and so you're going to see a variety of work coming up here. And so we're just really going to talk about her.
So I'm glad we're coming up on this slide, because this is closer to what she first started out with.
And this is an installation piece that sort of fuses a lot of her street art kind of block printy imagery, which is, a lot of women, a lot of sort of relationships that are sort of depicted in different styles, but mostly block print, color, cut out. Actually, Christina, I think you'd really love her, because she does a lot of her sensibilities towards, like a hard edge cutout paper fused with a kind of atmospheric background really relates to your paintings.
Yeah, so let's go back just a little bit. So because we started right at this interesting part of her career, but Swoon is 43. She was born in Connecticut. She comes from a hard background. Her parents both suffered from addiction. They were both heroin users. Her mother also struggled with mental illness. She had a very hard childhood. She used to run away from these demons when she was growing up. She went to Pratt for her education and training.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things she was most dismayed about when she did go to school was that she felt she was put in a box. This is a woman who is a very big activist and who believes in a lot of rights and women's rights. And she kind of struggled against that a little bit to get out and do something with her art. Her tagline is Swoon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about tags in street art? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us know about street art.
They probably do, but there's probably some people that don't.
Tags are an identifying mark that street artists use to sort of promote themselves on some level. It's usually almost always anonymous, and it can exist in a variety of ways. There's the throwy tag, which is just like the quick, I've got a can of spray paint, I'm just going to be like, yo, Todd. Not that anybody would ever have the tag Todd. Mm-hmm. Although I remember once in Brooklyn, I saw a tag that said Jonathan, which is ridiculous. But anyway, and so tags sort of are identifying marks. The first throwy tag that was ever really used was actually developed in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And the first street artist in that regard, graffiti artist, I should say, was Cornbread. Yep. And then it goes on, right? And so Taki 182.
But one of the reasons that tags were also became tags is to kind of protect the identity of the artist too. Correct. Because it was illicit. I mean, they're out there doing graffiti, so it was more to protect their identity as well.
Yeah. And so Swoon specialized. Her graffiti art, her street art was wheat pasting. And so if you look behind her right now on this slide that we have, she would make these massive block prints, lino block prints, that she would then cut out, usually on a lightweight paper like newsprint, and she would paste them up. I loved the fact that they were cut out because their sort of presence sort of fused beautifully with the surface that they were on. Mm-hmm. So they kind of had this both there and almost as if they absorbed that background in a really kind of integral way, which was nice. There was a really cool story she told in one of her interviews where she had climbed over a fence into an abandoned yard in Brooklyn where they had taken a building down, and she threw one of these up on a wall. And there was a way to look through the barrier wall on the sidewalk to see it. And so if you didn't look in the hole, you didn't see the work. Ooh. And so one day she was passing by and she saw a woman who was looking in the hole. And she was looking in the hole just to check up on it, I think. And there was a woman walking by and said, "Oh, do you know anything about that?" And she said, I'm confusing this story. Anyway, the long and the short of it is the woman who was the stranger said, "Well, there is a man who lives on this block, and he tells these stories, and he has some mental disability, and he had discovered this piece, and basically would tell people as they were walking by, he would say, 'Have you heard about the secret?' And he'd be like, 'Come here,' and he'd show them her piece, and this really felt transformative for her.
Yeah, it was a real connection with the community, that this is something that everybody could participate in, and that's really what she's all about. She didn't want to be boxed into a gallery. Now, granted, some of her works are shown at many galleries. I believe the MoMA has some of her works as well.
Museums and galleries, yeah. Yeah, I like that one too, Ben. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think the lighting, I mean, that really kind of shows off how much what really goes into the dynamics of building this, how much material was used, the different varieties of materials, the way light and shadow play off of one another, the way her cutout sensibility brought over from her graffiti work sort of plays into this, right? And how those spaces sort of layer and sort of, intrigue on some level.
Yep. One of the things I really like about her is that she's in a field that's not typically with a lot of women. You don't see a lot of women graffiti artists and street artists, and she kind of went in and conquered it a little bit. Her whole process was to make those lino cuts, and then they blow them up. And then if you ever look at like some of her artwork, there's layers. There's little feminine elements with the lace going on in the background, but then there's her drawings. And they're really just awestruck. They make you awestruck.
Yeah, no, I love that. I actually keep calling them cutouts, but they are really like lace. They really are like...
They have like a painterly effect with the lace and the design, and then it gives it some depth and some push-pull when you're looking at the artwork.
Right, but there's also like I remember a friend of mine's grandmother who used to make these doilies, right? And the intricate openings and the work in those doilies is kind of reflected there. And so maybe there's a tradition of that, sort of woman's work. I mean, and I don't use that in a kind of gender biased kind of way. I just, in terms of a tradition, is the way I kind of use that term. It's really interesting to look at that. Mike says physicality and layer of her prints shows up all across her work. Yeah, definitely. Like this piece that's up here right now. Yeah. Again, also, I love these interior spaces that are either implied in the pieces that get thrown up on the wall or actualized, in the actual flotilla.
Right. Well, looking back at the last one with her installation, and she had a couple of shows in the Brooklyn Museum where she transformed the space. Almost the entire room was like this drawing, assemblage, the lace. She used a lot of lighting for effects, some fabrics. She really made this environment for people to just kind of immerse themselves in.
Stunning work, too funny. I just started a lino cut the other day. All right.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to see it.
I love that. And we actually talked about creating a lino cut series for all of you that we might give out on occasional basis where, our followers or our subscribers get to,
X amount.
You get perks.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about these flotillas because I'm, looking at her work and digging back into this stuff again. And I was fascinated with this stuff when it first came out. But now that I've had a chance to revisit it, I want to go out and make one. I mean, I live on a river. I want to put one out there. I want to float down the river on this thing.
The fishing club.
And frankly, I never want to come back. But there's some really, really interesting stuff I found when I went down a rabbit hole, an absolute rabbit hole that was sort of revolving around this culture of these junk rafts, okay? And I say junk, but not in the sense of, garbage.
She also calls them junk rafts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how she refers to them.
So the first thing is the first really thing I love about this is Swoon crashed. She crashed the Venice Biennale in these, okay? She was not invited to the Venice Biennale, but she shows up after crossing the Adriatic Sea. She floats into Venice, right? And people are on the shore, like basically yelling to her, "What is this?" And meanwhile, there are performers on board and they're playing. And she wound up she stole the show.
She really did.
And so, and I don't mean to keep coming back to Jerry Saltz, but I'm going to come back to Jerry Saltz for a second because he actually had something to say about that when that took place. And he said, let me find the quote here. He said, like the best work here, Swoon's work doesn't come out of academic critique. There we go again. Yep. Doesn't come out of academic critique. It comes from necessity and vision. These are the perfect tools for making things as old as time new again. It's fantastic. I love that, right? So then, can I just keep going on this for a second?
Yeah, you can keep going on this.
So then I found all of these other people, families, entities, groups that have created things like this. So, for example, there's the Floating Neutrinos. Yeah.
What the heck?
The Floating Neutrinos. I don't know if any of you guys from New York remember the Floating Neutrinos. Up, Pumpkin Audrey, you're on up, and Angus Ron, you're like, the fishing club might get mad. Yeah, too bad is right? I love that you guys are talking about that. Keep going on that because I want that energy to develop, right? The Floating Neutrinos was a family that parked their raft in New York, right? Right off of, I think it was right outside of Tribeca on one of the piers, and they stuck their raft there. And they spent 3 years basically building the raft larger from garbage they found in New York City, okay? They had kids, right? And they were living totally off the grid. And they were, talking about this. They were talking about it online. I mean, this was back probably in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And they were talking a lot about it. But when they finally left New York, they took the vessel that they had made and they crossed the Atlantic Ocean in this thing, okay? So instantly the Floating Neutrinos are like, doing this on a level that is just absolutely crazy. Another plus, less carcinogenic than Gowanus. Yeah, for sure. And that might have been part of their decision-making there. So they cross the Atlantic in this thing and take it to a level that's crazy, right? One last thing, and then I'm going to shut up and turn this show over to you.
I know how excited you are about the flotillas.
So then if you look up this other thing called the Miss Rockaway Armada, right? This Armada, I mean, imagine that. I can't speak now. An Armada, like this massive group of ships, right? It basically consisted of the Floating Neutrinos. I'm almost positive Swoon was involved in this on some level. And then there were several other groups decided that they were going to go down the Mississippi from Minneapolis all the way down and exit out into the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh my goodness.
So I have something I want to read to you about this because it's on the Miss Rockaway Armada website, but I really want to read this because when I read this, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to give all this up and I'm going out on the river and I'm going to go. That's it. Listen to this. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. The question was, why are we doing this? For a bunch of reasons. For the adventure, for the impossibility, for more than this. We grew up in small towns. We remember the bookmobile and the punk rock band and the seeded little pieces of something else. And now, even though we moved to big cities and found people like us, we still live in a country that fights wars so it can consume more. We are taking the urge to flee and heading for the center. We want to meet people who aren't like us. We want to meet ourselves at age 16. We want to be a living, kicking model of an entirely different world, one that in this case happens to float. Plus, we suspect that there is something wildish about seeing the stars night after night from the grand old Mississippi. Yeah, sure, the Colorado is prettier and the Rio Grande is its own divide, but the Mississippi has always been the main artery of this country. We want to start where the blood flows straight from the heart. Now, I know there's an election coming and I don't want to get all grandiose about blah, 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 blah. But what a beautiful sentiment that is.
Yeah.
You get on that raft and just go sleep out under the stars and make it out of. And plus, it's not some yacht I paid stupid amounts of dollars for. I made it.
Yeah.
I made it.
Yeah.
And then I'm not even going to tell you how long I spent on the internet looking at other crafts made of junk. But now it's your turn.
I bet you did. Yeah. No.
I'm exhausting.
No, I think that's great. Well, that's the thing. Whenever we see this stuff, your ideas start shooting. And that's the one good thing I love about Swoon, because she's one of those artists that really inspire and change. Save the treehouse wood for the flotilla. That's good advice.
Yeah, it's too bad the treehouse wood is already in its own 20-yard solid Core 10 steel flotilla in the driveway. Thank you for that, though. I appreciate that. Mom says loved the bookmobile. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like when I look at Swoon's work, I feel all this possibility.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're more drawn to the sculptural adventure.
Yeah.
And I'm still drawn to like the drawings and how she changed the community. And maybe I look at it like, okay, you're coming from, you're a sculptor, and that's kind of how you're coming to the table. I'm coming to the table as a nurse because that's what I do. And one of the things that I loved about her, which I'm probably going to go completely down off the enthusiasm train, just what she does with the community is amazing. I mean, in Philadelphia, so she started her murals and stuff like that. But like in Philadelphia, she helped to establish or participate in this program that helped with inmates and rehab and get these people into a spot where they come in, they can clean up, they can make some art, they can make a difference. Like her humanitarian efforts to me really strike a chord with me because I feel like she's doing something. And even like one of her first wheatpaste pieces, she had said that she had put it up, and the next day she came back and she saw that, there was this bodega on the corner of a street that was kind of not much to look at. And she put this piece of artwork up there, and it transformed this one little area that people would come and look at. And that's magic right there. You're taking something that people didn't give a second thought about, and she changed it. And it's a place where people come to and they commune with. And that to me is so exciting. Well,
and I just kind of jump off that for a second.
Yeah.
From a sculptural standpoint and her humanitarian efforts, she also, when the earthquake in Haiti
yes.
had happened, she and her partner had actually decided that they needed to do something. They were not some massive humanitarian aid cause, but they knew that
they kind of worried about what they could do as artists, because they were like, we're not first responders, we're not this, what can we do?
Right.
But that didn't stop them, because there was stuff that they could do.
And the funny thing is as artists, as makers, there's so much we can do.
There's so much. And they really took this initiative to collaborate with an architect. And
well, the building materials that they used, the building method that they used was from an architect from Iran who had developed this building method that was quick, sustainable, and very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And they went down, they found a village in Haiti that had been severely affected by this, not in a major city, but outside of one. And they built them a community center. But they didn't walk in there like a bunch of, outsiders to basically say, hey, we're going to do this for you.
Yeah, we're putting this here and you're going to deal with it.
Right.
No.
They spent a ton of time in the community after this tragedy, mm-hmm. speaking with them, getting to know them, meeting with them. And it wasn't until quite a long time after that they actually got to work on this community center. Mm-hmm. And then they went back years later to build one of the women in this town. She had come to them. So while they were working...
She was pregnant?
She was pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah, you saw the same thing.
I did.
Yeah, okay, good. See, we're on the same track.
See, we don't talk about this, not really before the show, so we don't even know what the other saw.
We're not supposed to know what the other person saw. But why don't you tell it since you know it? Do you remember?
Well, I believe she was pregnant and she had wanted a job, and they went ahead and hired her. And because of all the effort and work that she put into it, I think they wanted to collaborate with the architect and build her a home.
They did.
And they came back to Haiti, I believe, right?
Right.
It wasn't during the same time.
Well, that wasn't in the first proposal. And so they had to go back home and kind of get the money together to actually go down and do the second mm-hmm. project.
Yeah.
But the community really felt connected to her because, number one, she communicated with them, and number two, she returned. So she really understood what their needs were, and she also sort of did not just let this one-off mm-hmm. for some kind of promotional thing sort of happen, and then she walks away and never comes back. She really kept that connection with them. And so this artist, to me, has a far more far-reaching kind of effect on the world than just,
She's not just in one spot. I mean, she wants to use her talents and her artwork to bring the world together, to help situations that really need help. And I'm in awe of this artist this week.
It shows that the change that you can create from this kind of work, or I shouldn't say this kind of work, because it sounds like I'm specifying maybe the work in Haiti or maybe the flotilla or maybe something specifically.
Right.
Number one, there's a variety in her work, and the one underpinning to all of it is that it affects a kind of change on the world that has impact. Mm-hmm. Right. But it doesn't necessarily have to have, the budgets of countries or, it's
almost grassroots in a way. Now, she did get funding from grants and stuff like that, later on and stuff. But this was somebody just going out there trying to make a difference.
Yeah.
And, considering her beginnings, that she actually used that trauma from her childhood to kind of push her forward, and she accepted what happened. This is the other thing, art is therapy. And I keep saying that, especially in the world today, we need therapy. And she used that background to channel it in and make these big changes for other people. It was never like, how am I gonna do this for my career? It was more like, how can I change the world? Which is one of the things to me that really struck a chord in me with this artist.
Definitely need more therapy available. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that completely. Let's see. We got to go back through a few of these. Christina says, this is why I love listening to you guys. Your passion is contagious and so inspiring. Thank you. That's really sweet. Audrey says, great show tonight. I wonder how long it takes her to build one of these works.
Yes, that I don't know. I know the drawings, when she just does a flat out wheat paste sweep up, that's not it is intensive. But from what I'm understanding, her process with those is a little bit simpler. She'll do the carving and then she'll blow it up and then she'll wheat paste and then she'll do that. I don't think that's as involved as the flotilla or some of her bigger installation pieces.
Yeah. It's Adam. Adam, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming. I'm honored. I'm honored to have you. Thank you. So it's like the old days in class. This is good. Adam was actually one of my better students when I taught at a different institution, which I'm not going to put my institutions out there, but he was at a different school. And he says, "Thank you. Great to hear you both." Yeah, it's good to have you too. Thank you. So, I think so one thing I was going to say that we didn't bring up in this that was kind of funny that I read about is the flotillas were actually taken apart. And this goes to Mom's question about how long it takes to make them. The flotillas were taken apart and then cataloged and put in shipping containers. And then they were shipped over to Europe. I don't remember which country.
Don't remember either.
But the funny thing is they couldn't get them out of customs because the country thought they had been shipped 4 shipping containers of garbage. And Swoon actually had to Callie, she likes to be called Callie. Callie had to actually go and prove that these were not garbage, that they were art pieces. Yeah. But it's kind of funny how,
it is kind of funny.
Perceptually, they're,
Yeah, they're very different. Yep.
So yeah, it's these pieces to me are just absolutely inspiring, and I don't know. I want to get out on the river now.
I know. There's so much I want to do. I'm like, maybe I could do wheat paste. Maybe I can start doing some portraits. Maybe we can start sculpting. This was like very inspiring because even before the show, we started talking about all the things we could do because we knew that she could do stuff.
It's like World War II or something. If I'm not misquoting history. Be careful, Am, because Sergeant Spider will actually correct you on any historical reference. He's actually really quite good with that. So, works, customs, value. Yes, absolutely. And because I'm very invested in technique, Mike says, do they need to be licensed as seaworthy to get through locks and such?
Huh.
Well, I can say this. One of the rabbit holes I went down when I was looking into some of these vessels, they had made a point of saying that on board, they had all of the Coast Guard regulation safety equipment in place. So whatever that means, and I think, and I have a boating license, and I know that in terms of your craft, there is a certain checklist that you have to meet in terms of not only what needs to be on board, but what you have to have in terms of flotation.
Okay.
I'm not talking about personal flotation. I'm talking about, what you're on.
Yep.
Yes, Mike, to some degree, yes, but licensed is, I think that varies. Like when you're out past that 3-mile mark and you're on the open sea, nobody cares, so, but what happens before that, I'm not sure. So I was going to say on the, I was thinking of something that came up on the whole garbage thing and then we bounced, wheat paste. So since I'm a teacher and I also am invested in technique and making. So if for some reason anybody wanted to try and do their own wheat pasting, I'll offer you some techniques really quickly. Number 1, mix your wheat paste with wood glue, a small amount, but it helps to make the bond better. 2, those really fun ketchup and mustard bottles you have on the picnic table in the summertime? They make fantastic distributors of the wheat paste. So rather than have a bucket and a brush, if you have a squeezy bottle, you can get it all over the wall really fast. Then you slam that wheat paste poster up there and then you squirt it all over it again and then you brush on. Okay, this makes you quick and it makes you get out of there quickly. Plus, if you get caught by the cops, I just have a bottle of ketchup in my bag. This is not wheat paste. Throw the brush away. Right.
Okay. Like, is this illegal?
Yes. I used to do these projects with my students all the time.
I could totally picture you doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a show once on all my students that have ever been arrested. Yes, only if you get caught. Am says always wanted to. Am, you should totally be doing this. Come on, that's you. You could be out there doing that.
Yep. But yeah.
So we have a problem. We have 7 minutes until this show is over, and we still have not hit 40 followers. Now, one thing I've learned is that your followers don't come during the show. Your followers come between the shows.
That is true. We had a ton of followers.
We had 8 people follow.
That's
between the shows.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So, Ron, I know you didn't mean to say it that way.
I know.
Typo.
I know. Okay.
Am says I have a tag project. I know. Yeah. So here's the thing. You could, in the next 6 minutes, get the word out there to 2 friends. 2 friends could pop on here and throw a follow in, and bam, we'd be giving away Jerry Salt's book tonight.
Yep.
We'd be giving it away. Now, some of you are out there saying,
just giving it away.
Christina's like laughing.
It's funny because I gave away a couple of those copies. That was what everybody got for their birthdays this year. How to be an artist.
Yeah, we're having a little spell check issue. Am says, never went into wheatpaste though. There's a spray paint tagging Vigilante. I'll send you a link after the show. Yeah, I would love that. I want to see that. I'll tap friends now, so don't say anything too interesting for like the next 30 seconds. You mean I should save the interesting stuff for after they jump on? Let's have a moment of silence while we wait for a new follower.
This is totally like church. It's time for the moment of silence.
Yes.
We got a sermon. We got a moment of silence.
We read. I mean, this is good. We read. So, because I can't listen and text at the same time. Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I won't say anything interesting. I will say, just as, since we want to promote our thing, and, I do draw on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., which some of you have very diligently been coming to watch. So I appreciate that. And the other thing is that, again, we are talking about hitting. I've got a hey from, look, Toothless Wither is here.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Toothless. Really enjoyed the lunchbox art. Yeah, Adam, thank you for that. That actually is something that I've struggled with for a while in whether or not to continue, because it's just,
Well, that's tricky too, because that was pre-COVID days.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like not really doing...
I'll show you guys that sometime. I know some of you know what that lunchbox artwork is, but I'll throw that up here at some point. Or if you, I mean, I don't even have that on my website, so you can see it on my Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yeah, it's there. They were notes that I used to draw and write to my son before he went to school every day. You're so close to 50 followers.
So close.
Yeah, Toothless. So, you're a moderator. You got the little sword there on your thing. Get out there and get some people. Yeah, Toothless definitely knows the lunchbox art. Waiting on that book. Yeah, Mike, I honestly could use some help with that, because, when you sit down in Adobe InDesign and you try to design a book when you're a sculptor, I mean, I teach Adobe InDesign, right? But I'm not, my design skills are not there. So that's a tough one. Ben says, I know those notes. All right, well... hopefully we're going to hit that. We got 2 to go.
Yep, and even to get to 40. Even if we hit it before next, if we hit it midweek.
If we hit it midweek.
I think we could still do the
And
drawing.
if we hit 50 midweek,
ooh,
we can do the drawing and we can do the book.
I still wanted to give the bunny trophy.
You're not giving the bunny trophy away. Okay, here's the deal, all right? I'm going to bust this out. So one day... we're playing around with some Sculpey. We're like making stuff. And Terry's like, oh, I want to make something. Okay. Now this is this thing. She just went on this whole tirade before about how she can't make anything.
I'm kidding. We don't have to do this right now.
No. Am says, is this on till 9:30? No, Am, it's on till 9. But sometimes we run over a little bit. But
next week we're going to have an awesome show too. We'll find a new artist to talk about. We will.
And I see, we have a lot of viewers right now compared to normal weeks. So if you have not signed up to follow, please follow. We're hoping. Okay, sending text now in case of any quick viewers. Am, you're the best. This is good. I've got some dedicated people here.
Yeah,
we're lucky.
So lucky.
We're really lucky.
Yep.
We are going to be working on upgrade. So a couple of maybe some housekeeping things just to kind of give you some insight into future shows. So in a couple of weeks, we are not going to be able to be on Tuesday nights. Not nights. I shouldn't say that plural.
Just one night.
One Tuesday night. We're actually going to have to shift the show to Wednesday. Okay.
And that is October 28th.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're going to be moving the show to Wednesday that week. Now, we're going to put lots of stuff up on the Twitch channel and social media to remind you that we're going to be moving that show. But that is the Wednesday before Halloween. So we're going to be doing a show that's sort of Halloween centric. We're going to be looking at
We're going to get dressed up.
We are? I have a really cool...
You should too. Everybody come as their favorite artist.
Yes, come as your favorite artist.
Yeah,
I have a really
bring
cool...
Bring your drink. It'll be awesome.
Toothless Slither says, why? These are things I cannot disclose, Wither. I thought it was Friday. Oh yeah, Ben, I'm sorry. You were in an earlier conversation where we were saying Friday, but then we realized I have another conflict on Friday, so Wednesday. And I'm not messing this up like I always do with my other things, okay? So anyway, so we're going to be on for that night. We've already got the artists lined up for that night. That's going to be a really fun show. You're going to like that.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that, number one. Number two, we're going to be upgrading some sound equipment because we suck with sound, okay? We've got these fancy mics. We can't seem to make them work right, but we're missing one key thing, so we're going to make that work. So you are now dressing up. Terri said so.
I love you, Ron.
Yeah. Thanks. I love you too, Ron. Awesome. So
no, next week is fine.
What? Next week's fine.
It's I think the following week. It's the 28th of October.
The week of the 28th, we're just shifting Tuesday to Wednesday. That's all. Let me get the date exact here for you so I have it, or so that you have it, I should say. So on Tuesday the 27th, our show will be switched to Wednesday the 28th. Okay.
But we're still here next Tuesday the 20th.
Yes, next Tuesday the 20th we are on. And we've got an interesting show for you then too. And Teenies. That's where we broadcast from. And Teenies is undergoing a significant renovation that is going to take several months. But once Teenies finishes its renovation, we're going to be blowing it out of the water. You're gonna, I mean, we had a conversation about this over the last couple of days, and we're just insanely excited about what we're gonna do with this new location. Okay, like it's going to be. I thought you had a Pee Wee Herman phone booth kind of backdrop, but you're actually at a place. LOL. I'm here. Echo. I'm glad to have you. We're Echo 5 Rom 30. I'm here. Welcome to the show. We'd love it if you followed because we're shamelessly promoting ourselves.
Close.
Wait a minute, I need more wine.
But like I said, if we get it during the week, I think we could still do our giveaway. Yeah, we will definitely have our giveaway. Sergeant Spider, friend of mine, fellow streamer. Nice. Welcome. Adam, thanks for the invite on that. That's great. Thanks for spreading the word. Yep, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you.
If you're a fellow streamer, maybe one night we'll raid you guys, and I'll explain what raids are to all you new Twitch people at some other point. We don't have to get into that too much now. Yes, we have another follower. 39. We are at 39 from Echo 5 Rom 30. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so the last thing I'm going to say about Teenies is major renovations coming, and it's going to be really fun. So I thought it was a backdrop too. You're for sure not at a place, LOL. This is fun. Off to Zoom, be well. Mike, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And big fan of the show. Definitely tuning in on the reg. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to wrap it up for tonight. Don't forget, we're going to post this video tomorrow on YouTube. We're going to put links to everything we mentioned tonight, from Swoon to any other references that we might have made. They will be included in the description on that YouTube, so definitely check that out. And we look forward to seeing all of you next Tuesday night. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.